The hobby that all of us have collectively chosen to partake in, be that fantasy or historical reenactment or LARPing, can sometimes seem very, very expensive. And in truth, it is very expensive. But I have learned a very important lesson, which I would like to share with you, which may help making those purchases just a little bit easier. Greetings, adventurers. My name is Kramer, and today I have a very important story I would like to share with you. Now, this is something that actually happened to me. It is my personal story, so I'm not attempting to tell you how to spend your hard-earned money on various things, but it is a mindset change that I experienced that I think may be helpful to some people. It's up to you to decide whether or not this is actually applicable to you. Now, I do not see this as being helpful to someone who is just starting out and isn't really sure if fantasy reenactment or LARPing is actually for them. This is more for the person who is ready to start making upgrades or has purchases that they know they want to make. They have a set character, a set persona that they're ready to play, and they are ready to start making those investments into that character. So recently I went into a store and I wanted to buy a knife. This knife, in fact. Well, I actually didn't know at the time that I wanted to buy this knife specifically. So, and even though this is a completely modern knife, it has nothing to do with fantasy reenactment or anything, it is directly applicable when it comes to purchasing things like weapons, things like armor, or just various pieces of kit. So I walked into the knife store and I went to the gentleman behind the counter and I said, "Hello, sir. I would like to buy an out-the-front OTF knife, and I'd like to keep it under $100. And he sort of laughed he just like went, "Huh, why? We sell nice knives here." And this was like a crossroads moment for me, because I could have chosen, I didn't, but I could have chosen to be offended or off-put by that. I could have, based on that response, I could have just walked right out of the store. And maybe another person would have. Like, who is this person to tell me that what I want is cheap or garbage, or just sort of like put me down for not wanting to spend my hard-earned money on what he deems to be a nice knife. But I chose instead to think of it this way. I'm attempting to purchase a piece of equipment, a piece of sophisticated mechanical equipment that I don't want to fail on me, that I want to be able to use, ideally for the rest of my life, and I definitely don't want it to fail on me in a situation where I actually need it, whether that be to just cut open a box, and I don't want it to like fail and hurt me and like come open my pocket or something. And I realized that he has a very good point. I'm attempting to purchase this piece of equipment, and yet for some reason I don't want to spend money on it. And this is all happening within like a split second in my head. I'm realizing I either want an OTF knife or I don't. Because if I don't want to spend what it costs to manufacture something like this and have it function properly, if it's not worth it to me to have that, then I shouldn't buy one at all. It's cheaper to not buy one than it is to buy one. And if I'm going to get one, if I decide that I really do want a knife exactly like this, then I need to pay what it costs. And so in that moment, I made the decision, okay, sir, show me what it is that you do have. And he proceeded to lay out all of these very, very nice knives, these very expensive knives, $600, $700 a knife. And I'm like, okay, I'm willing to pay the money, but this is a lot of money to spend just on a knife. And I'm still sort of straddling that line between, is it really worth it to me to have something like this? And another gentleman that was working at the store said, hey, listen, we've got this sort of sale container. And if you buy one of the knives in there and you buy another knife in the store, the knife in that container is 50% off. So I ended up with a knife that was several $100s more expensive than the $100 budget that I had set for myself. But I still ended up with two knives instead. So it's not that it was cheaper, because it wasn't cheaper. It's that it was a good bargain and I actually got what I wanted rather than like a prop version of what I wanted. Because when it comes to out-the-front knives, if you know a lot about knives, you're simply not gonna get a very good one, aside from some very specific models from some very specific companies, that is under $100 and will still actually function the way that it's supposed to. I'm someone that has buyer's remorse a lot of the time, so if I buy something, pretty much anything, I'm always like, oh, did I really need that? Did I have to spend that amount of money on it? But with this, I didn't. I walked out of the store and I was just very happy. And that's an amazing feeling because I actually got the thing that I wanted. I didn't get an approximation. I didn't get a stand-in. I didn't skimp out on it. I just like got the thing that I wanted. And that's why I think buy once, cry once doesn't work. Because if the thing is worth it to you, to spend that money on, if the value of receiving the item is worth more to you than having the cash on hand is, then there's no reason to cry about it. Just buy it. If it's something that you've decided that you wanted, actually buy the thing that you've wanted. Don't get a knockoff or cheaper or cut corners version in the hopes of just saving a couple bucks. Just if you've decided you want the thing, if you decided you want a helmet, you decided you want a breastplate, you've decided you want to buy a new LARP sword, just buy the thing that you want. And that might mean waiting until there's a sale, waiting until there's a good deal, asking if someone has one that they're willing to sell you, or just saving up a little bit. And this is a lesson that is especially helpful when it comes to creating characters, because a lot of us spend time sort of daydreaming about the ideal character that we'd want to make. Well, let's say you wanted to play a knight, and you went, okay, then I'm gonna play a knight, and I want to get like a full suit of custom armor. Can't afford it yet, and you spend time like trying to see if you can piece together something out of these cheaper parts that maybe will fit together and look like the armor that you want to get. It's not the armor that you want to get. The actual armor that you want costs $6 grand. And a lot of us, I've seen so many people fall into this trap, especially with armor. If you knew for certain in 3 months that you would have the money to buy that armor, the armor that you really wanted, like if you knew for certain, 100% certainty, you would have the money to buy that armor in 3 months, would you take out a loan to buy it now? And if the answer is yes, then that means that's the character that you want to play. It means you're totally committed to it, you're gonna make that money happen, you're gonna buy the suit of armor that you really want, and you're gonna be happy with that. And that's not the same thing as saying that you could have the armor for free. Would you take it? Because obviously anyone would take that for free. The question is, would you spend $6 grand if you had it on that armor? That's the important part of the thought experiment. If the answer is no, or even if you had the money right now and you still wouldn't want to spend that amount of money on the suit of armor, then that's not actually the character that you want to play. And that might elicit some cognitive dissonance, it might hurt some people's egos to realize that, but if you don't want that armor, if you don't want the armor that you want, then you don't want it. And that's freeing because it allows you to just go, okay, it's not worth it to me to have that, so I'm gonna move on. And now you can work on different characters rather than being hung up on this thing and debating and going back and forth and spending months trying to figure out whether or not you actually want this. You either want it or you don't. And if you don't want it, then safely move on to the next thing. Maybe you'll want it in the future. And who knows, by being brutally honest with yourself in that regard, you may find that another character that you hadn't considered, that's not as cool because it doesn't have all of the cool armor and the pauldrons and everything, you might find a new character type that you didn't really consider before, that you actually fall in love with and you're perfectly happy with that, rather than sort of chasing this ideal forever. If you don't buy the $6,000 armor, right? If you don't work as hard as you can, save up as much as you can to buy that $6,000 armor, will you regret not doing it for the rest of your life? Because if the answer to that is yes, then you do want it. And you should do everything that you can in order to get the thing that you want. That's life advice. That's advice that every person, I feel like, doesn't hear and needs to hear, which is just to live the life that you want. And I don't know, there's parts of you that feel like selfish for saying that. But I don't think we should allow that to come into our brains. You get your life as an adventurer. There's no respawn. You don't get to create a new character if you fail with the one you have. Live the life that you want now. That's the moral of the story. When the question was asked of me, I realized, no, I do want the thing. And I'm willing to pay what it costs there. I could have walked out of the store. I could have got a different knife that was cheaper, but I wanted this knife. That was a life-changing experience that happened for me. It was a lesson in the value of money versus the value of things. It was a lesson in sort of this sort of pre-ingrained, like, never spend your money. Just like hold on to it forever. It was a freeing experience. It truly changed my life, and I've now seen how it affects other purchases that I make. So I wanted to share that with you because I do think it is applicable, given that this is a hobby that can be quite expensive if you want the things in it that are very expensive, like very nice swords or very nice armor or a really nice bow or something like that. It can be an expensive hobby, and I thought that this would be a helpful thing to share with you. Don't waste money buying a cheaper version of the thing that you actually want, because the cheapest option is always not to get anything at all. And if you're in a position where you know you really want the thing, and you just can't afford it yet, then just wait. I know it's tough, I know it sucks. Just save up and wait. Set deadlines for yourself, gamify it. We'll bring it back into the adventuring scenario. If I were an adventurer in like a D&D universe and I went to a store and I knew I wanted to buy a sword that was enchanted with like a death touch. So it doesn't matter if my opponent's wearing armor, it's just like I touch them with the sword, it's over. And I can't afford that yet because it's 3,000 gold pieces. But there's another sword that's only 500 gold pieces that doesn't cast death touch, but it can cast light. It's the same in the sense that they're both magically enchanted swords, but why would I spend $500 on a sword that doesn't do what I want it to do just so that I can have an enchanted sword now, rather than just waiting and saving up on the sword that casts death touch? It is within the realm of my existence here on YouTube to over-explain the incredibly simple, but I hope that this was helpful for you. And again, I'm not telling you to just go out and spend all of your life savings on a suit of armor or something, but I am saying that learning this lesson really did change my life, change my outlook on spending money, change my outlook on getting the things that I want, and I anticipate that this will continue to influence me for the rest of my life. I think I will remember this story forever, and I will continue to share it with people forever because it was just that. It was so profound yet so simple. So I hope this really helped you. I will see you next week, and in the meantime, I'd like to wish you good luck on your adventures.